Things have been getting really, really weird lately. As things become more well known by people, the powers that be begin to run, deflection and smokescreen campaigns against that information. For example, as people become aware, they suddenly throw all the black people under the bus and they make black fatigue go viral, making it go viral when it was already around for a long time, right? They make it big to take eyes off what they're doing and make that a big thing. You've got people who are trying to throw other people under the bus, not racially, but politically. And you have people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, all those people. And they all have like one thing in common. All of those people were once really part of the machine. And then suddenly they have a falling out. Suddenly they're fired or whatever, right? And then they join the other side. In an interview right after Tucker Carlson left Fox, he said that he had no idea that the media was lying until after he left, right? How could you work in the machine for 20 years or whatever and have no idea that something was amiss? And then they're sheep dipped and they're put into the quote unquote alternative media to talk about all the dangerous things, which is like dangerous things light. So I want to show you this. There's a point to this.
We have a question. Do you want to be a cop, or do you want to appear to be a cop?
It's metaphorical. This is Tucker Carlson at the desk.
It's an honest question. We deal in deception here. What we do not deal with is self-deception. 5 years from now, you could be anything else in the world, but you will not be a Massachusetts state trooper.
You sure of that?
I'm sure of that.
Guaranteed. You got 1,400 on your SATs, kid. You're an astronaut, not a statey.
You'll be convicted of a crime. We're thinking a guilty plea to assault and battery would make sense.
Given your nature?
That's exactly what happened to Candace Owens, right? She's working for the Daily Wire, and then suddenly she says things that they don't like. So she's sort of convicted of a social crime and then sent into the den of the quote-unquote alternative media to sell us information light.
You'll do enough jail time to convince anyone this is no setup. You'll be on probation, see a court-ordered shrink, the whole 9 yards.
You want to serve the Commonwealth, this is your chance.
That's exactly how it went down with Tucker Carlson, with all these people. And then it's like they're dipped, and then they come back out the other side and start doing the song and dance. In the past, people have told me, you got to be careful about saying that kind of stuff, because what if these people want to talk to you in the future, and then you've said something? Look, I've been doing this online for over 10 years, and I can tell you, none of these people are going to talk to me about anything. And when they do talk about this kind of stuff, they bring ridiculous guests on who have zero research, zero evidence, just like somebody who's like literally like off the street. It's very, very weird, very, very intentional. Because if you were going to talk about, technology, what's going on, you'd think you would look for the person who has the most information about it, right? But, even SGT Report have done some very, very questionable interviews in the past about this kind of shit. So when you see or hear information come from them, you need to understand that it's there for a reason, and it's there to give you, the 90%, 90% truth, and then that other 20% bullshit. That bullshit, that 10 or 20% is the difference between knowing what's up and not knowing what's up. So Candace Owens interviewed this person and tried to make a hit piece out of it. But what ended up happening was she ended up looking phony by making this hit piece. And she came off more like an Oprah hit piece than anything. So it was clearly bought and paid for. Even the trailer was deceptively edited to make it look like the person was saying things that they weren't saying and all this shit. Very, very bizarre. And this is supposed to be, the people that you can trust to get to the truth, right? Bullshit. They're bought and paid for. But the point is, you cannot trust the information coming from these people, especially if they've been part of the machine and then suddenly they're not. 90% of them are intelligence or military intelligence. Tucker Carlson, it seems like a nice guy, but, his dad was CIA. And he's CIA. I mean, it's obvious. And if you're not technically CIA, you're still working with your dad's contacts and all that nepotism, right? And Alex Jones, his dad was working with the CIA. All of them down the line. And Candace Owens got her job because they liked the fact that there was a black woman that could influence people with neocon propaganda before she, quote unquote, went off the reservation, which is perfectly timed to influence people now. And now you have all these people out there that are mentioning mind control. And I know for a fact, that a lot of these people do watch my channel. I have quite a bit of information now. Now we have tons and tons of these larger channels. And some of the hosts or people on them or co-hosts or whatever will say, we know that this mind control shit or this electronic weaponry is real now. I mean, we know it's real. And they'll never, ever elaborate on that. They'll just dip in, put a toe in, say it, and pull it out and move on from what they were saying out of nowhere. And they will never, ever elaborate on it. And like I said, when these people get these guests on there to even talk about it, when they do, they're very, very weak guests out of nowhere. These people that are, you don't know who they are. They have no evidence. They don't have like a channel. They don't have any research they're sharing. You wonder, where did you even find this person to even talk about this subject, right? It's very weird. And then what they will do is a lot of the times they'll put like somebody who doesn't believe in it, usually a behaviorist or a psychiatrist or somebody like that, right? And because these people are very weak guests, they will just shred them. The naysayer will shred the shit out of them and make them look like complete and total buffoons and or lunatics. And it's very, very weird. They will not put someone solid on there that can actually back up what they're talking about. They just don't do it. But at the same time, they're always throwing in out of nowhere. And we know that mind control is real, or we know that electronic weaponry is real. But then they set these people up to get knocked down because they're purposely picking these weird people to put on the show that have nothing, that have no solid information or evidence or anything. Pay attention when you watch these shows. What is their motivation to keep saying that this stuff is real out of nowhere? Like, when you're not even talking about it. They'll just say it out of nowhere. It's like they're looking for street cred, but they're not brave enough to really talk about it or get somebody on their show that really knows what's going on. They know the population believes it, but they're not ready, or their masters aren't ready to touch on that yet, right? And there's something to that. So, back in the past when people told me, watch what you say, they might want to talk to you. They won't want to talk to me. They'll put some actual nut job on there to run their mouth so that they can set them up like a T-ball for someone to come along and just beat them with a bat. But that's what these people are all about. This alternative media is just absolute and total buffoonery. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And since we are talking about media bullshit, I want to talk about this Rainmaker stooge, we'll call him, this mullet guy. He's in front of some cabinet of people talking about this cloud seeding technology, right? And this woman is, the only woman in the room is behind him, and she's acting the whole time like she's amazed at what he's talking about, like it's brand new technology. They've been doing this shit since like World War II. Right? And these people do this with everything. Yeah, I've talked about this before, but when they talk about, is this real? Is this really going on? Is geoengineering happening? They're bullshitting you. Is the voice of God technology real? It's all real. It's been around for coming up on 100 years now. It's been around for like 80 years, right? This guy is being used as a scapegoat Don't fall for this and get involved with it. It's some kid that wants to get into cloud seeding. Is he a douchebag? Probably. But he's not the guy. So don't buy into this crap. He's just some guy that wants to get rich off it. He's talking about it openly. So they video him and then sell it to the world as, here's the villain doing all the the cloud seeding everywhere. It's comical, man. Come on. Now, I've talked about mass shooters, serial killers, all these people being part of the same thing. It's all related. And in a lot of ways, you're hearing the same story over and over with just small details changed, like Mad Libs. And people will hear these stories over and over and over. It's the same story. And since those little details are changed, they think they're different. Some guy begins to hear aliens. Some guy begins to hear angels. Another guy begins to hear demons, but they all did the same thing. And people think that it's like a different story. Let's quickly go back to 1968. They didn't even have serial killers then. They called them spree killers. There wasn't even a name for them. And killers have existed over time, but not like this. All of a sudden, right when the TV generation hit their mid-20s to 30s, all these quote-unquote serial killers start popping up. Now, it's very bizarre, but you can go back to 69 and 70. It started in California, in the Santa Cruz area. You had Herbert Mullen, who started to hear this voice of God telling him that he had to kill people to stop a catastrophic earthquake that was going to kill a lot of people. This God-fearing dude did this in order to try to save these people. And of course it didn't, and the earthquake never happened. Right before him, there was a guy named John Lindley Frazier. He was just a mechanic, normal dude. Out of nowhere began to hear these voices telling him that he had to kill people to save the earth in the same city within the same 360-day period. Then you had people like Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. Then later, it began to move across the United States, and then you had it hit the East Coast. You had Son of Sam and all these other people. Right in the middle, this guy right here, Dennis Rader. All these modern mass shooters, killers, whatever you want to call them, begin hearing this voice of God shit. It's weird how they hide information. They will hide it, or they will suddenly come out with it and only tell you a tiny, tiny bit of information and then dip out. And it's like, why did you even bring it up? It's like you brought it up just so that you could say, well, we told you so. But they don't give you any details on it. Dennis Rader was a guy that I could never figure out. Clearly he is a sicko, but it seemed like he was being nudged along somehow, but I couldn't figure it out. And when did it start? It started right around 1974, which would be in between Herbert Mullen and Son of Sam. All voice hearers out of nowhere turned killers, and it's a little weird. Not to mention, a lot of people haven't, but if you read the DSM-1, the first Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, you will realize that voices weren't really a thing before that. Maybe you've been brainwashed by Psycho and all these Hollywood movies back then that were promoting that idea, but people didn't just hear voices. Not like that. They have completely changed the symptoms of quote-unquote mental health. But that's another video, and I've talked about that in the past. I want to talk about a tidbit of information that I found out about Dennis Rader here. Let me go to the audio because I can't show you the clip from the show because they will probably copyright me. I haven't heard about it before, didn't hear about it afterwards, but they release a little tidbit of information about Dennis Rader that could change the entire aspect of the case. And here it is.
Most disturbing of all, Rader will also claim he feels the presence of what he describes as a demon compelling him to kill.
Why didn't they release that information before? Is it because that we would soon figure out that all these cases are basically the same thing over and over? This is like Son of Sam or any one of them. It's bizarre. Then they go on to say this. which is mind-blowing.
He said that the demon was with him on all the killings. And that's really all we know about that. And that's a little frightening.
They never pushed him to elaborate on that, and he wouldn't elaborate on it. Now, when he says that the demon was with him on all the killings, that means that he was in communication with it. He was probably being nudged along by this. To say something that matter of fact, there had to have been some communication. So we can chalk Dennis Rader up. The guy I couldn't figure out is being compelled by these voices, right?
He said that the demon was with him on all the killings. And that's really all we know about that. And that's a little frightening.
Just bizarre. And that's the only time they talk about it. In and out, no more information. When that is a huge piece of every one of these cases.
Soon, the demon in Dennis Rader's mind will be unleashed, and there will be no stopping the beast within.
See, they make it all dramatic and make it sound all evil and spooky, but the reality is every one of these people, brand new serial killers, brand new voice hearers, all of a sudden, since the late 60s, early 70s, and then, exploding after 2000, you have all these voice hearers, have all these mass shooters, and it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. And this just proves that when you start digging and find more information on these people, you're hearing the same story over and over. There's just minor details changed. Minor. And just to add a little bit of icing to the cake, the audio producers of the show, they mixed in the audio effect of voices talking. Swear to God. Let's check it out.
He said that the demon was with him.
So they're mixing in voices while they're talking about Dennis Rader and this demon. Very, very odd.
He said that the demon was with him.
And that is it for now. Look out for Charlie.